Welcome to Talkpoint. Today we are focusing on a major legal development that could have far-reaching implications for reproductive health care in the United States. The Supreme Court has announced it will hear a case challenging the FDA approval of Mifepristone, a medication widely used for abortion. This decision has sparked national debate, raising questions about medical authority, legal precedent, and access to reproductive care. Tonight, we break down the case, its potential consequences, and what experts are saying. Mifepristone, often combined with Mifepristone, has been a cornerstone of medication abortion in the US since its FDA approval in 2000. The drug allows women to safely terminate early pregnancies without surgical procedures. Over the past 2 decades, millions of doses have been administered under strict medical guidance. The FDA has repeatedly reviewed Mifepristone's safety profile, concluding that serious complications are rare when used according to guidelines. FDA billing, pill packaging, clinical setting with healthcare professionals. The case, reaching the Supreme Court, was filled by several anti-abortion groups, arguing that the FDA approval of Mifepristone violated federal law. Plaintiffs claim the agency did not properly consider safety concerns despite decades of data showing the drug's safety. Lower courts have issued conflicts ruling. Some temporarily blocked Mifepristone access in certain states, while others allowed distribution to continue, creating a patchwork of legal uncertainty across the country. Courtroom sketches, legal documents, news headlines about preneur rulings. The Supreme Court's decision to take up the case signals the high stakes involved. With a conservative majority, some experts predict a close, contentious review. The justice will examine whether the FDA acted within its authority and whether states have the power to override federal drug approvals. This case is particularly significant because it focuses on a widely used medication with not a state-level abortion ban. A ruling here could reshape the regulatory landscape for prescription drugs nationwide. Supreme Court exterior justice walking into the courtroom gavel. Reactions have been immediate and polarized. Pro-choice organizations warn that restricting Mifepristone could limit access to safe abortions, especially in rural or conservative states where surgical options are scarce. Meanwhile, anti-abortion groups celebrated the Supreme Court's willingness to review the case, hoping for a precedent that could restrict abortion access nationwide. Lawmakers across the political spectrum are weighing in, emphasizing the intersection of healthcare, individual rights, and state versus federal authority. Protests outside Supreme Court, interviews with activists, Capitol Hill footage. Medical experts emphasize that Mifepristone is highly effective and safe when used under guidance. The American College of Obstetricians and gynecologists has stated that limiting access could endanger patients, forcing some to seek unsafe alternatives. Pharmacologists also point out that FDA approval is based on rigorous clinical trials and years of the post-market monitoring, making the drug one of the most studies in its category. Doctors in clinic, pill administration, animation, medical charts. Legal analysts outline several possible outcomes. 1. Supreme Court unfolds FDA approval. Mifepristone access continues nationwide with no changes. 2. Court restricts or revokes approval. Court forces the FDA to revise regulation, potentially in limiting availability in certain states. Third, partial ruling. The court might allow continued use but impose stricter safety requirements or state-level restriction. In the decision could ripple effects on pharmaceutical regulation, reproductive healthcare, and the broader political landscape. Flowcharts of potential outcomes map showing state-level difference courtroom imagery. For patients, a Supreme Court decision could determine whether they can access safe medication abortion without traveling long distance or facing legal hurdles. For healthcare providers, it could redefine prescribing practices and regulatory compliance. Legal observers also note that this case could become a benchmark for challenges to the other FDA-approved medication, raising questions about behavioral authority and scientific decision-making. Patients consulting with doctors, pharmacists, maps showing access to abortion services. The Supreme Court is expected to hear oral arguments late this year, with a decision likely to follow in 2025. Until then, access to Mifepristone remains largely unchanged, but the stakes have never been higher. We will continue monitoring this story closely and bring you updates on legal developments, expert opinions, and nationwide reaction. You have been watching Talkpoint. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay informed on this and other critical national news. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next report.